All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Ask a Vet Show. So this is our very first episode. I'm excited. I think I yelled that intro. Sorry, everyone. And so welcome. I'm Bethany, and this is Dr. Liz Hicks.
Hi, everybody.
She is with me from the PAW Veterinary Center, and she's going to be answering questions today on the first visit of when you bring your puppy into the vet. And so this is a way for us to provide you guys with health advice that actually comes from the professionals so you can have that happy, healthy pup that I know everybody is wanting. And so I've got some notes today to ask you some questions, but obviously we want to hear from you guys. So if you have any feedback, any questions, let's make this about puppies and about vet visits, and we'd be happy to answer them on Instagram and on TikTok. Please include the age of your puppy. That can be really helpful when giving advice, not just with training, because I know we always have you guys do that with training, but veterinary care as well. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
And yes, and thank you so much for coming here. I would like you to kind of start, just to put you on the spot, to tell us a little bit about yourself and your practice.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Liz Hicks, and I am local here to the South Bay, live in Redondo Beach, and I have a practice called PAW Veterinary Center, and I am a co-owner and founder of that practice. We are just a couple of years old, but there's 4 doctors in the practice, and we have all been in the South Bay area for over a decade, and we are it's home. It's the greatest place ever to be. Sorry for anyone who doesn't live here. But it's a general practice, so we do mostly wellness and preventive type care, and we are super excited to be in the area and be a privately owned practice, which we were just chatting about before the show started, and love our dogs and cats, and that is kind of our area.
So does that mean, even though the veterinary practice is new, have you been practicing longer, or are you new to it as well?
So definitely practicing longer. I have been a licensed veterinarian for 17 years.
Oh, wow.
And so have done this for a minute, and did horses originally, and then
yay.
Small animals starting back in 2009. And we've just stuck with it because it's just such a wonderful...
Yeah.
Wonderful, diverse world.
That's really cool. That's awesome. Okay, I think after 17 years, I think we could take her advice, and you might agree. All right, so I'm going to get started. The first general question, it is a general question, but it's an important one. Once someone gets their puppy, how soon should they come to the vet? I'm assuming that you got your puppy from a reputable breeder, that did everything that you think they're supposed to do. They get their puppy at home. How soon should they come to you?
So it's a great question, and it comes up a lot. I'm a big proponent for coming in right away. Now, right away can mean different things depending on when that puppy might have had a veterinary visit with the breeder. But if you can establish that relationship, it is such a nice opportunity. Puppy comes in and it's healthy and it's happy, but let's get it to your veterinarian. If you already have a relationship, that's great. It's a nice opportunity. For us as vets, we love it when healthy, happy puppies come in. It's a nice little moment in our day. And we can just confirm that everything that you expected to be getting is in fact what you're getting, that there aren't any big concerns. And then we can build that discussion about where we go from here. So even if nothing exciting happens from the true veterinary standpoint, we can have a really good dialogue about what to expect. What are we looking for from a behavioral standpoint, from a health standpoint, and then just from a continuing to establish our relationship. So right away is my vote.
That makes perfect sense. I've got a new baby, and that's kind of how I feel about her. Is like, I don't need to wait till there's something wrong. Like, I want to go in on the scheduled visits just to have the once over and get the feedback, and then get the what to expect next. So it makes sense that it works that way for puppies too.
And it's such a great opportunity for your puppy, just from an experience and a behavioral standpoint, to get to come in and just have it be love and kisses and cookies, and then it doesn't start off with an intimidating experience.
Oh, that's a good point. No, I like that. Yes. Which leads me to, I'm actually going to skip a question. Sorry, I was thinking, like in my head, I was like, I'm going to skip a couple of questions because that makes me want to go to the question of, well, then how should they bring them in? Because from a trainer perspective, and I know this doesn't happen all the time, but Sparky and I, we get feedback of, I just took my new puppy to the vet and they were crying the whole time, or they peed on my lap, or they started barking at a big dog that someone let pull over and invade our space. And so if I'm coming into your office with my new puppy, do you have any recommendations of, should I even be in the waiting room? Should I bring a carrier? Like, what would you suggest?
So great questions, and I love when it comes up before the visit and before there's some potential trauma, either for you or for the new family member. So depending on size, and as you touched on in the beginning, depending on age, that's going to dictate. A carrier is always great if it's an option. So if you have a young enough and a small enough dog, absolutely we recommend putting them in a carrier because it creates that safe barrier. Den space. Yeah. It's a barrier. They don't have such a big world to protect and defend. Defending you doesn't become their job. So it's just a way.
Did you guys hear? She just used a trainer phrase. Defending you doesn't become their job. And when she said that, what I was just thinking is that with a new, slightly overwhelmed puppy owner, bringing a puppy in, I may not be in a position ready to also defend my puppy.
Correct.
From that person with the wiggly lab about to jump in my lap.
Absolutely.
Holding a puppy. I may not be ready yet to be like, oh, no, I'm sorry, you can't do that. And so, because that's a lot to ask of a new person, so that makes sense. But it goes both ways. So
it does go both ways.
Yeah.
And your energy, especially if you're a nervous parent, and a lot of us, when we've got a new member of the family, we're nervous and we don't know what to expect. So your dog is now going, why are we nervous?
Yes.
So
another trainer phrase. Okay.
So helping to contain that literally and figuratively can be really valuable. So yes, if you can do that. Now let's talk about
if you can't.
That pup. Now we've got the larger puppy, and we just can't. It's not feasible. So having them on a leash, having control of that environment is always super important. And if you yourself are nervous about it, speak to the receptionist at the practice that you're going to. Say, hey, I'm bringing in this puppy. I don't know them very well. They're new to my family. Can we be placed in an exam room immediately? What options are available to me? So that's another option to try to avoid unintended or unwanted interactions. And then the final piece, if none of that's going to work out, having them physically under your control. I assume if they're not going to fit in a carrier, you're probably not going to be physically able to carry them either.
Right.
So having them on a leash, check in with that receptionist when you arrive. How's the lobby? Is there anybody aggressive there? Anybody I need to worry about? In terms of medical conditions, I do expect that at a veterinary practice, everything's sanitized, everything's safe. So from a medical standpoint, assuming we're not talking really, really itty-bitty puppies that hopefully haven't left mom yet anyway, it should be medically safe for them to be there.
That's a good point.
From interaction standpoint, everything you can do to minimize and control that first visit gives you the best opportunity for that to be a positive experience.
Excellent. I love that. That's good. Good stuff. Okay, now I'll go back to my other questions. All right. So what does the first vet visit entail? Because if you're a new puppy owner and you're coming in, you're wondering, is it shots? Is it an examination? Is it like, what should they be expecting when they go into the exam room?
Great question. So some of that's going to depend on where did you get your puppy and what plan did the breeder have? Does your veterinarian have a relationship with that breeder? Because a lot of times if there's no relationship there, from a medical standpoint, we can get into a situation where it can be kind of questionable to rely on breeder information when it comes from the medical side. So sometimes we've seen fecal checks have already been done or vaccines have already been given. If you're coming from a breeder who has provided that information from another veterinary hospital, most places are going to take that and move forward with that schedule accordingly.
And what you mean is there is a piece of paper from that breeder that says they got this, right?
So if we have just a piece of paper that says, here's what happened, maybe it's got a couple of stickers on it, typically we won't take that information as reliable as if they're saying, here is the medical record from such and such veterinary hospital, and this is the actual medical record.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because if we don't know how those vaccines were handled, if we don't know where those tests were done, then we have no real way of knowing if your new family member is truly protected.
And some of you out there might think that that's overkill, but from someone who grew up on a farm in Southern Illinois and where puppy mills are rampant, and puppy mills, even in California, there was one recently that was a registered breeder, and they had 400 dogs and puppies, and it was a real problem, and they all were not clean, and they were not vaccinated, and nothing that came from them was truthful. And so if you're wondering why vets have to be so strict on this, that's the reason why. And so it's for a good reason, is my point.
Absolutely. And most of the time when you're dealing with reputable breeders, they are providing
Yes,
you with
yes.
a history from a veterinarian, and then absolutely that's going to be taken into account. And then the flow from there is going to depend on their age and what they've had. So a few of the things that you can expect to find are a poop sample to run a fecal check. And we were chatting off camera again about that.
Do they need another one if the breeder already had
People
one?
say it all the time, but we just did one with the breeder. So the biggest thing there is we talk about a serial need for fecal tests. So we're going to run anywhere between 3 and 4 over the first few months of the puppy's life.
And so that's what you mean by serial, like they're going to need
Yes.
several while they're with you?
Yes, so it's in a series, just like the vaccines are going to be in a series.
Okay.
So we're going to start, again, some of this is age dependent, but we're going to start with some vaccines, age dependent and lifestyle dependent. The puppy that's going to live on the 35th floor of a condo town home and never ever leave. They've got the potty pad outside and they're never going to the park. They're never coming to a training facility. They're never doing that. That's going to have a different vaccine recommendation than the kiddo that's going to go to trainers, boarders, groomers, maybe a dog park. That's a very different environmental lifestyle. So the recommendations are going to be different. And then the veterinarian's going to do a complete physical exam. So we're looking for eyes, ears, listening for heart murmurs, any potential heart conditions, checking their skeletal structure and development, looking for anything that we can find that may not have been expected so that we can then help you make a plan for how you move forward.
And navigate it, yeah. Okay, so when they get their, that's a wellness exam. That's what that is, right? Is when they do the once over.
Yep.
Does it include, like if someone just comes in from a wellness exam and doesn't come in for shots specifically, is there anything else to it besides a once over? Because sometimes I'll get a call, from my vet and I'm like, you're due for a wellness exam. And I'm like, well, are you just looking my dog over, or are you looking for something specific, like depending on age, or like you said, where people live? I like that because that's important. Is there anything else to it?
So it's going to look a little bit different. Different practices include different things in a wellness visit. So there will be the place that does a quick once over and says everything's fine, no history of vomiting or diarrhea, great, here's your vaccines, off you go, bye. That was a wellness visit. There's going to be other places that a wellness visit is going to be both an exam and a conversation. So you're looking for questions about, how are they behaving at home? What's the interaction like? If they're new, let's talk about some things to prepare, maybe some behavioral conversations, as well as that full physical exam where they're truly checking that orthopedic development, that cardiac development, heart development. We can find conditions with their teeth, their bite, their eyes, all sorts of things that if you're at a great place, they should be looking for all of those things.
We do get some puppies and sometimes that get these like double canines and things
very
like that.
Common.
And we get questions on it and we're like, if they're growing, go to the vet. Like go to the vet, go to your wellness exam, because we do not know, because they're supposed to fall out. But we do get puppies plenty of times where they come in and they're looking
hanging on.
Yes, that's true. Okay. Is there anything that I haven't said that you'd like to let new puppy parents know when it comes to, because we covered a lot, but when it comes to them coming into your practice, like what to expect or anything?
I think the biggest thing that goes under the radar is building that relationship of trust and giving your puppy that positive experience so that they get to go in, get comfortable with the surroundings, and you get to go in. and get comfortable with the surroundings, because someday something's going to happen. There'll be some sort of a medical scare, and that's not the time to have to build that relationship. It doesn't set your dog up for confidence in this location and environment. So I think that's the thing that just goes unrealized by so many people, is letting this be a positive thing and being proactive about your care and not reactive to the problems.
I have a sidebar question. We've hit our time. I have one little sidebar question. I'm curious, in my work, I will sometimes suggest that people take their young dogs to the vet's office, to not go to the vet, but to always ask the receptionist staff first, like, is it okay if I hang out in here, for a few minutes?
Yes.
Is that something you would recommend, or am I telling people to do stuff that vets don't like?
No, it's fine. I think most veterinarians will encourage, because we really do understand the behavioral component here is such a big deal, and building a positive relationship, whether it's at the veterinarian, whether it's with mom and the new pet, those experiences, that socialization, it's all so important. And the more that we can build that healthy relationship, the more likely we have a healthy partnership. So all for it. Bring them in, put them on the scale, weigh them, get a treat, make it a positive experience.
That's great. I love that. Okay, guys, I think we're going to wrap up. Yes?
Do one Instagram question?
Oh, I didn't know that we did. I'm not, they're not loading for me for some reason, even though I joined soon. So, can you read it to me? And then.
You kind of answered it. You kind of did, but if you just want to give a blanket.
Yeah, sure.
So I really need to religiously deworm, tick, and flea every month once they have finished their final rounds of vaccines.
Okay, so do I really need to religiously deworm, tick, and flea every month after they've had their vaccines? And again, this question is going to be for a puppy. What do you think?
So some of this depends on area. So there are places where there's seasonality to fleas and ticks, and a different level of prevalence. So if we're speaking about Southern California, we don't have a frost or a winter here, so this is a year-round problem. So yes, absolutely, that monthly care is incredibly important to the prevention. And I promise you, every veterinarian will tell you, so much easier to prevent fleas than to deal with an infestation. So yes, really big deal. Keep it going. The vaccines and the fecal checks aren't going to stop that exposure. And it's for you and the health of your family as well. There are diseases that these fleas can carry, and it can multiply and spread. So yes.
I have to definitely second that. Full confession, growing up in Southern Illinois, where we get several cold months, we definitely slacked off with the dogs, but it always bit us in the butt as soon as it stopped getting cold enough. They were like, rah! So we would have to get on top of that right away. But I will say, those are dogs that weren't even coming in the house. And so if you have dogs that are coming in your house, I would much prefer my dogs just being on the safe side and my puppies being on the safe side. And honestly, it's funny that she asked that, because we had a young dog in about 8-9 months old, just biting the tar out of himself. And honestly, that's normal around here, dry skin, and it's an issue with puppies and dogs with skin. Turns out it was fleas, and it was so annoying, and it was only a couple. It wasn't like rampant, but it bugs them to death. And this is the important part, it was hindering the training. Like, it was so frustrating for him to just lay in place and be calm. And I'm battling with stop scratching yourself so much. I know, like, your skin must be itchy. And then go to look at him, and,
there's our little friends.
And so just even from a behavioral standpoint, when you have these kinds of things that are bugging your dogs, whether it's itchy skin or fleas, things like that, it affects more than just their physical health. It affects their mental health as well, is what I was trying to get at.
Yes. And again, we've talked a lot about relationships, and that is something that hinders the relationship, right? They're uncomfortable, and all they can do to communicate that is itch and scratch. And so the more we protect them, the better we can build that.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Okay. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
For being here today. I want you to let everybody know, like, where they can find you. Is there a website? Do you have, what have you got? What kind of services? Handles, social media? What have you got for us?
So I'm so the wrong person. My team is somewhere laughing right now because anyone talking to me about social media is barking up the wrong tree. But we do have an Instagram page. We are on Facebook. And certainly if you're local, you can find us on Google, and it's PAW Veterinary Center. And if you're really local, I'm making a little plug here, on August 31st, we are having an open house for the community. We're celebrating our first 2 years, and people can do tours and come and see the hospital and meet everybody. So
that's really great.
If you're local, come say hi.
Yeah, that's a good opportunity. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks again. And we will have you back on the show because behind the scenes, we have many more topics for everybody. But thank you so much for being here.
So much fun. Looking forward to the next one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.